Bang! Neeves Knives, I'm Jared, and we have a few new knives from Civivi and Sencut. And this is the only Sencut, but this is a deep hollow grind, I gotta say. Very, very thinly ground, hollow ground, trailing point, or, I'm gonna call it a clip point. Clip point with a little bit of trail to it. Almost a straight back, because the clip basically just lines it right back up with the spine. So it's gonna act very similar to a straight back. Very slim. We have 9CR 18 MOV steel, white G10. I like the white and black combination. I think that looks good. Deep carry clip that's not inset, but it does have flat screws, which is good. Nice clearance. T8 hardware, which I always love to see. And then we have thumb stud action on a button lock. Now, this is in my opinion, Civivi Sencut Weed does the best button locks, man. Their plunges are nice and large. They're really solid. They're very strong. Their thumb stud placement on this is great. And they also put a nice little chamfer along the edge. So you just basically just drag your finger up that chamfer and you are getting it. Reverse flick is easy. Has a nice snap to it. This because it's so thin and light, man, you can really pow this thing. Plunge grind, yeah, I don't like the plunge grind. I wish that was separated. Yes, they did separate a tiny, tiny, tiny bit, but I'm still gonna hit the plunge grind. That's not enough. So yes, when you sharpen it, you will create a smile on the plunge grind. The edge, Civivi usually does do a really good job with their edge, or Sencut does. So nice, sharp edge. And like I said, very, very thin. This is gonna be a great skinner. This would be a great hunting knife. This would be a great hunting knife, great fishing knife. You could even use it for EDC, really. It is long, so you do have to lift up high to get to the tip. But for the belly cuts, slicing, if you're using the tip, it'll be just fine for most things. There's just gonna be some things that it might not be as good at as other blade shapes, but wow. Really, really cool. They did a good job, but I do see a stop pin placement problem hitting here. Okay, so it hits there. You'll probably not sharpen that out because that is in a thick, thick area, and this is a narrow blade. So when you sharpen up to here, just make sure you're sharpening that way and not back. Not very many negatives, it's not, it's really good for what it is. It's good. Next is this guy. Now, I gotta be honest here. So this is the Faeger. Okay, so the Faeger is in 14C 28N, and the Faeger is a drop point deep hollow ground blade that does remind me a little bit of the Praxis. However, I do want to say this, it's good, but it feels a little repetitive. Let me explain. So we keep seeing the same old, back to back to back to back, and it's it does get boring. It does get boring. I kind of want to see a little something different, right? I do think they do the best job on the button locks, so I do love their button locks, and this is very similar to like a spear point blade. So this is a hyper functional blade shape. The jimping is well executed, plunge grind's well done, the button is inset, and the thumb studs are nice and large, grippy, and very easy to get to. Chamfer around the edge, so super good action. Flipper tab, very comfortable, well placed. It has almost a bent teardrop handle, so I like how it goes thinner to thicker. I always love that. I do feel a little bit pushed back because of the flipper tab, but I still got a good grip, and I can always choke up. Frag pattern is good, deep carry clip, not inset, but it does have flat screws, T8 hardware all the way around, and it's a reversible clip, and it's got a hollow grind on the 14C, which I love all of it, but it's just boring. I'm bored with this already. So that's just my opinion. If you're just getting into knives, and don't take anything what I'm saying seriously right now. This is for the guys who've been into knives for a long time. There's just certain things that become repetitive, and it's like, how many of these are we gonna see? And this kind of feels like that. And now this one though, this is probably the most exciting one of the deal. This is the Modern Hunter. Oh yeah, and it is in Nitro V. Check this puppy out. Now this is unique, so let me explain. This is a hollow grind with a flat ground bevel. Not edge bevel, but like, what would you call it? Scandi? Not even a Scandi. It wouldn't be a Scandi because that'd be sharpened all the way out to the edge. However, I am thinking about turning this into a Scandi. I'll explain in 1 second. But if you look, this is a deep hollow here in the grind. But then the blade right here, the primary grind is a flat grind, and it did come with a very, very sharp edge. And you can see here, beautiful plunge grind. At least, yeah, it's a good plunge grind, but possibly not for what I want to do. I'll talk about that in a second. The ergos are amazing in this reverse grip. If you're in the gas station knife fighting grip, this is absolutely perfect. Like just the way your thumb places right there. I feel like I have a ton of power to generate. In the forward grip, I can kind of bend this around my palm a little bit if I needed to poke it into something. I'm not scared that it's going to slip at all. Even if I'm like this, I'm not. It is really, really good. Now, this to me would be more leaning towards a self-defense knife. It does have a great Kydex sheath. A little bit of rattle and tap, but nice pop. So it is very strong. I do not worry about this thing coming out at all, like not even a little bit. And you got this handle right here, so you don't have to do the push up with your thumb. You can just grip it and rip it and get to work. You can obviously carry it scout way, or, you know, you could put a different loop on there, carry it in the front of your belt. There's lots of ways to carry this. That's probably how I'd carry it, right in front by the belt. The blade is it's a drop point. It's a drop point blade, but it is very spearish. So this is going to be very, very puncture friendly, I guess, or maybe non-puncture friendly, or it's going to puncture really well. I like the way they did the pins here. They're knocked down. You do not feel them at all. So this is a glued construction. And, you know, you can see the chamfer around the edge. So this is not a sharp edge at all. The spine is comfortable. No jimping necessary on this. It is good, man. It is really good. I love the way it is. And for a self-defense knife, if that's what you're going to use it for, one, you could use it for EDC too, because this would be a great EDC knife, right? You could use it as even like a food knife. You could use it for just about any type of knife, except for maybe bushcraft. And even then you possibly could, you know, a little bit, but for self-defense, this just feels like something I would want, you know. And then if we do what I want to do to it, which is sharpen this entire bevel. I want to sharpen this entire bevel. And not sure if I'll do it right here and show you guys, or if I'm going to do it in a short, but that's what I want to do. I want to sharpen this entire bevel so that this entire thing is an edge. That's probably going to be like a 7-degree edge bevel. That would be so sharp. Granted, it might be actually kind of tough because it is, so the hollow on this does not just go like hollow. Okay, it goes like this. And then back. So just the center is like the thinnest point, and then this is thicker right here, which is very interesting how it pulls down and then back up to this secondary grind, or primary grind, I should say. Man, yeah, like I said, man, after sharpening, this thing is going to be a nightmare for somebody. So I have a extra coarse and fine grit stone. This is from Sharpall. They also have new grits now. So they have the new extra coarse, and they also have a 600 grit. So you got pretty much all the grits you're going to need, up to 1,000 to 1,200 grit. This comes with a case, angle finder on the inside, and what's cool is you have a rubber mat on this side to stop you from slipping, or you can use it like this if you need to, if the stone doesn't fit right here, like if you're using a different stone. Now, sharpening something like this is the most difficult type of sharpening because it takes so long and it takes so much fatigue, and the bevel is so big. You can see I've already begun. Now, it's basically like a 5-degree edge bevel. So having a 5-degree edge bevel means that this thing is going to take a very long time to sharpen. Not only that, is that the larger the edge bevel, which this would be an extreme to that, it's the easiest to see imperfections. So that's why it's also the most difficult, because it's so easy to see all your imperfections, especially if you're a perfectionist. So basically, I'm laying it down flat, lifting it up right there, bam, that is the angle. So you can see I barely lifted it up. Like I said, I'm not sure exactly what the angle is, but I would guess like 5 degrees, maybe 7, but we're getting it though. Actually, this is a perfect time for me to talk about this little thing. I almost forgot about it. So it's called Any Stone. I think you can find them on Etsy. They're very affordable, but basically what it does is you can change your angles on both sides here, and you can see the angle here dangling. Now, the thing is you can't do something like this on a fixed angle system. The reason why you'd have to do it freehand, or at least like this, is because the angle is so low, the clamps will always hit your stone. You'll never be able to get this low of an angle with this thin of a blade. If it was a thicker blade, maybe, but not a thin blade at what looks like 5 degrees per side or something. This doesn't go down as low as I need it to. I actually need it to go down a little bit lower. So I'm probably gonna have to freehand it, but most people don't need to do something this low. But if you do wanna do a Scandi grind and you wanna have the angle held for you, this is a good way to do it, because the ball just not rolls, but floats on the surface of the table. And then all you gotta do is just lift your elbow. Just a little bit. It can possibly even help you get a little bit of the muscle memory down and help you learn to lock your wrist and feel what a perfect angle is. So when you go across the stone, and then you can do the exact same measurement on the other side and do the same thing. Now, like I said, this thing, I'm gonna try to do it. I covered this so I didn't scratch the blade at such a low angle, but I'm probably not gonna be able to use this for much longer, because I do need to go just a little bit lower than what it's capable of, but this would be a perfect time to use something like this, and it is something that can help people. And again, this is the 1% of things that you're gonna need to do when sharpening. So it'll cover 99% of what you need to sharpen as far as angle-wise. In fact, it'll even cover things that a fixed angle sharpener couldn't do, as far as how low the angle can go. Oh, now I've been working on this for 2 days since yesterday, so I got an hour or so yesterday and then an hour or so now. Still on the 220, but I want to show you guys something. So this side you can see is done. I mean, the scratches are from the top of the bevel to the apex. However, it is convex, so I still got to flatten this side out. But this side is a good representation of sharpening, period. So if you look, you can see the lines that are going side to side. Like there's a couple different ones. You see one major one right there. And then there's a couple other ones, just depending, there you go, where the light hits. Now, my goal is, because, okay, those are facets. And the reason why they exist is from angle change. So each time you see a line going that way, that's just a different angle that I'm using on the stone. Now, this top one, the very, very top one, is the one that I want to hold now. So my goal is to line up this angle, which that angle happens to be flat on the stone. So this is kind of like sharpening a straight razor at this point, where you literally are just holding the blade flat on the stone. That's why I'm using this Captain tape. But holding it flat on the stone is this top angle. Now I need to hold that until the scratches reach the apex. So no matter how long it takes, which in this case it's gonna take a while, but that line right there, so that angle is the angle I need to keep and hold until the scratches hit the apex. Okay, so I'm on the 3rd day of doing this. Now I'll be honest, I probably might have been able to get it done in 2 days, but I'm such a perfectionist, and I don't recommend anybody go to the level that I've went through on something like this, because some of the facets that are driving me nuts, that lead me to keep going, they don't matter. They don't matter at all. And yes, it makes it look perfect if you can do it a certain way, but there's the imperfections that are going to come from doing this by hand. There's going to be some. And if you can get it perfect, it's near impossible, and you're just removing way too much material in order to make something perfect that doesn't need to be. It's not going to affect the performance, the sharpness, nothing. Nothing will be changed aside from maybe slight visuals, because the facets are from the tiniest movements where you can't even acknowledge them. Like, you can't even fathom that you did anything different. Like, I have the spine laying on the stone and I'm going across. So basically the easiest way you could probably cut in a bevel is to have it flat on the stone, yet I still have imperfections coming out. So it's just what it is. But I am such a perfectionist when it comes to this that I keep going. But I'm going to attempt to go to a polish with this, which is stupid, but because I want this to be the sharpest knife to ever exist. I want this thing to be, at least as far as production wise. I do plan on doing the sharpest knife that's ever existed, but as far as the sharpest knife I've ever done to date, I almost don't want to use a stone that requires liquid, to be honest. I kind of want to just go through all my diamond plates and then finish on one like this, because having your hands wet for so long, and at least for me, it drives me nuts. I am 3,000 grit. It's technically a mirror polish. This is going to be the sharpest edge I've ever done, and that's just a fact, because this blade is so thin that I literally lay it down flat to make this bevel happen. Like, that's crazy. That's like sharpening a straight razor. It's the same concept on how you do that. That's why I have this tape on there, so I'm not scratching up my spine, which I'm sure I'm still gonna have scratches, but this Captain tape, I'm telling you, K-A-P-T-O-N, it's a great abrasive resistant, heat resistant tape. But man, trying to get this thing perfect, I mean, I've went back and forth. I've had to go back to other slower grit stones, and you know, because it's like the tiniest movement, like, even though it's flat, right? Just the difference between me putting pressure forward, back, or straight down, or this, any way, which I have to do. You have to do that in order to get, say, the back of the bevel and the tip of the bevel. You'd think you'd be able to just lay it down flat, but it's just not 100% the case. Like, for me to get the tip, I gotta come all the way out here, so that means I'm having to apply pressure this direction. So it's nearly impossible to not have some sort of pressure differences. And even when I go as light as possible, there's still going to be the tiniest facet. And I'm trying my best to get rid of the majority of the facets. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be as good as I can get with what I'm given here. So 3 days in, and I'm finally getting to 5,000 grit now. Yes, 3 days of sharpening this thing, couple hours a day. Just, you know, because I'm trying to make it perfect. Guys, this is one of the hardest things to do. This is like what Rockstead does, but Rockstead's, I don't know exactly how they do theirs by hand. I think it's a completely different method. So here's where I hit 10,000 grit. It's about 10, 15,000 grit, but this was scary, man. Like, very scary. I wound up cutting myself. You're gonna see the Band-Aid here in a second, because just handling this knife, it is dangerous. So it just is what it is. And you know, this is all the stropping. I did a bunch of different stropping compounds, different strops. I even went to that abrasive strips, the abrasive tape stuff. Can't think of the name of it. Right there, you see it. I even used some of that. I tried getting to the best polish I could. There's still gonna be micro scratches, but you know, it's very, very mirror polished at this point. And it's about as perfect as you can get by hand with what I had to work with, especially at the angle, because this is such a thin blade. Like, I don't think people can't even comprehend how low of an angle this is and how difficult it is to make something like this perfect. But in the end, it wound up coming true. So, and just here in just a second, I'm gonna show you guys how damn sharp it came out, but I will say, I'm gonna have to micro bevel it. It is way too sharp. The edge is way too fragile. However, I'll wait till after I show you guys the sharpness. Now you can see it's got about a 90 thousandths blade stock thickness, and then look at that. You know, way behind the apex is like 14 thousandths. But if you get right to the apex, 0 thousandths. I can't even get 1,000th to pop up. Now, I'm sorry, but here in a minute, you're gonna see most of this stuff turn vertical because I wanted to be able to fit this into short form videos as well. But this was scary. This was a very scary knife to do. Typically, I don't fear, you know, any of these knives or sharpening them or anything, but this one was definitely a scary one because just handling it is very dangerous. I wound up cutting the tip of my thumb off, and it happened so quick, it was insane. And I also broke the tip of the knife because it's so thin and so brittle. You know, when you get to a certain level of sharpness, you know, all the toughness goes out the window. And that's why I'm gonna have to micro bevel it after all this, because, you know, chipping is inevitable without a micro bevel on this. But my goodness, you wanna talk about sharp? This is beyond sharp. I couldn't even get it to whittle a hair because it just smokes right through it like it doesn't even exist. It's, like I said, it's dangerous. It's not practical whatsoever, but damn it, is it fun to see something this level of sharp. You know, it's great. It's fun. I love it. You know, I ran out of things to really test because when you get to this level of sharpness, it's like, what can you test it on? Well, I took the best sharpness tester just because some guys like it. I personally don't. I would tell you, don't trust this system. Even with me doing it, just don't even trust the system. But these were the numbers that I tried to get, you know, the best possible way I could, and be honest. Work hard, stay tough. You know everyone's relying on you. Till next time, peace.